Lands of the Mesozoic. This is a multiplayer solo game in which you will try to create a sustainable prehistoric environment. Over a number of turns, you'll be hit by 2 extinction events and a ginormous meteor at the end of the game, and that is when you score points, seeing how well you completed your goals and again created a nice sustainable environment. We are going to use 3 types of cards: lands, herbivores, and the carnivores. And as I already said up there, during the game there will be discard piles that are super important because each time that you draw a card, you can draw it from the top of the deck or from the top of the corresponding discard pile. They have an ability to let you go through the discard pile and choose a card. As I said, it's a hard time back in prehistory because there are extinction events waiting for us. You have a deck of cards divided into 3 periods, and there is a major extinction event in between period 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. And there's a deck of cards that you draw randomly from, so they're not always the same events, but the pure cards are always the same. It's always the same combination of cards. So there's also a turn track, which is perfectly unnecessary because at the beginning of each turn you're gonna draw a card, so this deck of cards is also the timer for the game. Once the last card is drawn and that the turn is resolved, then we score. And so we always start a turn by drawing a card, which often will give us new resources, like in that case everybody draws 2 lands, or there may be other effects such as no effect. It is an effect also, philosophically speaking, and also other things such as you have to discard cards, for example. Goals. Each player will have a personal goal, and there will be one available to everybody, face up in the middle of the play area. For everybody to complete, and things such as you score 2 points per medium herbivore at the end of the game, 2 points per card with that code at the end of the game, sets of cards with those symbols, and so on and so forth. I said multiplayer solo because really there is no direct interaction other than, this would be the turn track that I mentioned, this is where you place a common goal. There's no direct interaction other than some goals that are of limited quantity. If you're playing multiplayer, these goals have a 2-point token and a 1-point token placed on top. And so, for example, if you're the first player to have 3 carnivores in play, you will collect a token with 2 points. If the second player to do that, they will collect this one. So these race goals with that limited amount of points is the only element multiplayer. If you're playing solo, then simply you place a 1 value token in each of them, meaning that each of these goals can be scored once for 1 point by little old you. Each player has a board such as this one, almost the same as this one. You have multiple copies, multiple boards, but for some reason only one copy had the legend indicated there with that tells you what the symbols are. All the boards are playable also, but that one also is very legible. Maybe if you're playing multiplayer, you can give that one. Oh, wait a second, I found another one. So for some reason, 2 have it and 2 don't. For some reason. Now, that's the legend. But most importantly, this board is used to organize your lands and your herbivores and your carnivores. There is also another thing that is important. It also tells you when things are available. Remember, the deck is divided into 3 periods, so all lands, the 5 land slots, are available from period 1. You can only have a certain number of herbivores and a certain combination of herbivores depending on the period. In period 1, for example, you have 3 slots for herbivores, and you can have up to 2 small, 2 and/or 2 medium herbivores, and no more than 1 large. Starting from period 2, then you can also have a second large herbivore, but never more than that. And the similar restrictions are indicated on the icons for the carnivores. So in period 1, you can only have one carnivore, which can only be small. In period 2, a small and a large. And in period 3, then you can have a second large one, if you so wish and desire. Couple of rules that you have to keep in mind to keep your environment sustainable. And they'll very much make sense. Thematically, you need to have more lands than herbivores and more herbivores than carnivores. If there's an imbalance there, then you have to discard cards into your extinction pile until you reconcile things. And also during the extinction events at the end of period 1 and period 2, you lose lands, and again you will have to reconcile things accordingly. Another interesting thing is that if there is overgrazing, if the number of herbivores that you have in play is more than 2 than the number of carnivores that you have, then these guys are overgrazing, no one is keeping them in check, and you start losing lands, and then again you have to reconcile things accordingly. So, during your turn, you will first hopefully receive some cards from the event card, and then you'll start playing cards from your hand. You can have any number of cards in your hand, but the cards on your tableau, as I said, they're restricted based on, again, the rules that I explained. And so you can play cards from hand by paying their cost, or if cards are already on your board, they may have abilities that may have different kind of icons, and then you can activate those abilities once. For example, if they have that arrow, it means that you can turn the card by 90 degrees to perform the corresponding action. In that case, for example, I spend the card to do that, and I'm drawing a land. If I turn this card by 90 degrees, then I can collect a herbivore, and I do so, and I place that in my hand. So when they're there, you can simply use those abilities. That symbol that you saw, the one of, turning it by 90 degrees is one. There's also another one, which of course I'm not going to find because I want to find it. That's just the law. That's just the law. That's just the rule. Come on. Basically, there's another symbol. And oh, there you go. No, that's not the other symbol. The symbol is that one, but the effect is basically a one-time thing, which is you extinguish, it goes extinct, and this goes in your face down. When your card goes extinct, it goes in a face down discard pile there, and it will be scored at the end of the game. That's for effects that you can activate, boop, on your board. How do you get cards on your board? Thank you for asking. The cost is indicated in the top left of the cards, and it works in slightly different ways for lands, herbivores, and for carnivores. For lands, you need to discard a number of cards. That's it. You need to discard, in this case, 3 cards, and I can play the springs, which is also why it's good to hoard cards using some of these effects, and then I can place that land in play. But when you play them, they have, what's this called? Summoning sickness. So basically they come, the board, they get into play exhausted that way. But they will be everything straightened out as we prepare for the following turn. So to play lands, I need to discard cards. To play herbivores, I need to also discard cards, but also to use a number of lands. And so, for example, if I wanted to play... right now, with the stuff I have in play, I can't play any of these because I've been tossing cards kind of randomly, but there you go. Suppose I want to play this dino here, then I need to discard a card, boom, done that. And then I need to use these 2 lands. I need to use 2 deserts and a river. This guy likes a little bit of everything. 2 lands and a river. And now I can summon the Blackonosaurus herbivore. There, booyah. Carnivores, I think you guessed it. It all depends on food availability. For me to play the Coolosachus, I need to tap to use a medium herbivore, and other carnivores will have different dietary restrictions, plus again number of cards to discard. So this is the general idea. Basically, you have a tableau building in which you will possibly get some cards from the event card, then start using some of your effects to generate cards and or, well, to generate effects. You will use those effects to play cards onto your tableau. Oh, look at this one. This one would like to eat 2 medium herbivores, which I have. So you play cards in your tableau, again taking into account those restrictions about sustainability all the time. Do that for a number of turns, resolve extinction events from time to time, and then you resolve the last card. At that point, all the cards that are in your tableau will join the cards that were already here, and then you divide them, and so everything goes extinct. And at that point, then you sort them by type: terrain, and carnivores and herbivores, leaving these areas visible because those are victory points that you score, plus those icons may be used to score some of the goals. So for example, there you go, this goal gives me points per card with a T at the end of the game. That's why those 2 icons now are valuable. So at the end of the game, score points on the cards that you had. Hopefully you collected some of these tokens during the game. Add those up. Also, player with the highest score wins the game. If you're playing solo, well, you're just trying to score as high as possible. Lands of the Mesozoic is very nice, is very fun, played as a solo game. After reading the rulebook, and I thought, I'll play a game solo, see how that goes, I felt no desire to play it multi-solo. Because it's an engine tableau building game with no interaction. That means that I was having a good time doing, operating my engine and creating my synergies. I'm gonna tap these 2 cards to get this card here. Now I can play. Now I'm gonna use my Stegosaurus to untap it. Then I can do something else here. Ooh, I drew some extra cards. Let me see. I don't know, maybe I can do this and that. Blah, blah, blah. Having a good time. I don't think that I would enjoy so much seeing you and 2 other friends doing that before my turn goes back to me. The hypothesis alone brought back painful memories of playing the early editions of Dominion. We were wowed by the deck building mechanism back then. It was good enough by then, but then people started taking 20 minutes per turn by buying more actions. That gave them more actions, and they would use more actions to get more actions. I don't need that. And so I don't see any particular advantage of that kind. Now you'll tell me, but I play with my friends. It flows so well. We loved it. Good for you, but I'm not going to play that way. Because, by the way, I felt that I was missing nothing when I was playing solo. Then really enjoy my tableau building, my engine building, and even my engine operating. In engine building games, if you watch my reviews of some of those, you will see that my problem with some of those is that it's fun to build them, but it's not so fun to operate them. If there is an optimal way of running your engine every turn, then it becomes trivial and annoying and boring. But here, I created this perfect engine, which I'm gonna operate for maybe 2 turns before an extinction event happens. Now I lose part of it. So I have to rebuild it, and now I have it totally awesome for a turn or 2 before I lose part of it. So it's an interesting element of engine building and rebuilding, which somehow works. In many games, somehow, we know as players we have loss aversion. Losing something is more annoying than building it. But here, somehow, it's part of the nature of the beast, I guess, is there from the beginning. You don't lose all of your engine, and so that partial loss of something that you created, in turn, creates a new set of interesting situations to analyze and situations for you to make decisions in, which is precisely what I personally like in a game, and I hope maybe you will do too. So actually there was an interesting flow and an interesting take on engine building that prevented the game from becoming a boring engine operating. But again, something here that worries me if you're gonna play it multiplayer is that I didn't see any catch-up mechanism. The Ascension event is gonna hit everybody equally, it's not gonna hurt the leader in any way. And there was a game where I failed to create a good engine of resources at the beginning, and then I was never able to really dig myself out of that hole. So, word to the wise, you really need to spend the first couple of turns creating a good engine with some lands that will give you extra resources and or actions, and herbivores that will do that also. Otherwise, just with the resources that you get from the deck, that should just be like a secondary source of income, really. So again, my worry is that there's no catch-up mechanism, and if you are starting to fall behind, it will become increasingly irritating because, well, you'll see other people doing better and you cannot catch up to them. I'm playing solo, so I see that this game may sucked and I scored 17 points. Real story, that happened once. The next time I'll get 35, which is still below the threshold for not sucking according to the rulebook. So actually, it's a game that even plays solo. Again, playing solo, you're always engaged. You got the puzzle is there. If you love to play that kind of puzzle together with your friends, go ahead and try multiplayer. For me, I felt no need. And I find this to be a perfectly enjoyable solo game. As an engine building and as an engine in an engine rebuilding game, I found this to be perfectly enjoyable. I like how thematic it feels. I like the fact that I saw a lot of dinosaurs, because I like dinosaurs. 12-year-old me never got past the fact that dinosaurs are really cool, and so you have a lot of art with dinos here. So that's a plus in my book. Land of the Mesozoic. I'm happy to recommend it as a solo game. If you're gonna play multiplayer, well, you heard my warning, then you decide what to do with it.